Hello and welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's topic, let's talk about something. We all know the truth is hidden. The people in power have always worked behind the scenes, keeping their dirty secrets under wraps. We all know this. It's like that saying, behind every big fortune, there's a crime. Even if we was to go back to the 1920s, where there were rumors about black political figures being connected to some of the black street gangsters who ran and controlled the numbers game in Harlem, often referred to as the policy racket. Now, these partnerships were crucial. The gangsters brought in cash and muscle and helped many political movements grow. However, this growing unity between the black social leaders and the black criminal organization posed a serious threat to the established power structure. For who knows why, but for some reason, the people in control have always had this need to where they want to control everything in the black community. The numbers games was very hard to penetrate legally. Unlike other criminal activities like liquor or drugs, where you can catch people red-handed with the product, the numbers game used codes and methods to conceal operations. So the power structure needed to fight power with power. You know the old saying, it takes a thief to catch a thief. In comes the Mafia to take control of the policy game.
An opportunity for the outfit to encroach upon the policy rackets and eventually take over the policy rackets.
And this happened all over the country. The Mafia either took control or placed their black puppet gangsters in charge. And in any community, the street guys have influence. And once the black street guys were under control, black criminals who once helped the community now participated in its destruction. They always try to make some of these legendary black gangsters look like they had power. They were under control. And in many communities, all the way up to the 1970s, these criminal organizations controlled crime in the black communities. Everybody knows the Mafia pushed drugs into the black communities, from the French Connection and others. The question has never been, did they do it? The question has always been, did they do it for profit, or was there more of a sinister reason behind their participation in destroying the black communities?
Business, to keep it respectable. I don't want it near schools. I don't want it sold to children. That's an infamia. In my city, we would keep the traffic in the dark, people to call it. They're animals anyway, so let them lose their souls.
It amazes me how many black people look up to these gangsters. I was gonna have a section where I talked about the Cowboys, but it would have made the video too long because those gangbangers caused a lot of destruction in our communities. However, in this section, we'll discuss other gangbangers, but it gets documented in a different way.
In 1923, the black town of Rosewood was a land of opportunity.
You've been drifting along, Mr. Man.
Seemed like forever.
Colored folks own all the land around here, all the businesses too. Man can make a new start around here, make something of himself.
Until the day, one woman's false accusation
Tell me the truth. Was it truly a colored done this to you?
unleashed a fury against their town.
If you find him, well, you know what to do.
You think it's a coincidence that they destroyed many thriving black towns located near water or resources that they needed? This wasn't by accident, but by design. Rosewood was located right on an important route that had shipping in those days. And later they constructed Highway 24 that many used to go to Cedar Key as a tourist attraction. And they did this all over the country, just to name a few. Colawanga, Alabama, New York's Seneca Village, Manhattan Beach, California, Bruce Beach, Oscarville, Georgia, Vanport, Oregon, Ellington, South Carolina, Ocoee, Florida. All these thriving black communities, as you can see, were near water sources. Many of them destroyed under the excuse that a white woman got raped by a black man, or the city got flooded. But who controlled the dam? In the case of Ocoee, Florida, they used a different tactic.
The Ku Klux Klan had actually heard about black people trying to vote a day before the election. So they were surrounding a lot of those polls in the area and saying, basically, black people, you are not to vote. And so Julius July Perry, he went to go try to vote. He was unable to. He went back to his house, and the Ku Klux Klan, there was about 200 of them, surrounded his home. You know, they raided his home, they burned his home, they burned churches, dragged him out, beat him, and then strung him up on a light post. Some people say 3, some people say 60 black people were killed in the massacre. There were 255 black people that lived in Ocoee. After the massacre, there was no black people. So black folk, their property was taken and sold, and still to this day, the controversy is that those descendants never got compensated for that land that was taken.
Now, eminent domain was around, but there's keys to eminent domain. It takes time and money. You have to compensate the people. Do you think back then they wanted to give black people money? Those properties next to water resources were valued very high. It was cheaper to use a gang called the Ku Klux Klan to kill people or force them away. And that's what people don't understand about the Ku Klux Klan. It was just a gang, the Mafia of the South. And these gangbangers I'm getting ready to talk about next are the most powerful gangbangers of all time. During the 1960s and the 1970s, they used the police to cause harm and destruction in the black community. Do you think it's a coincidence that almost every mass riot by black people in major cities was sparked by police brutality? From the Watts riots in 1965 to the Detroit riots in 1967, many riots was triggered by police brutality. Okay, people don't riot solely because of racism. They riot because if you can't trust the police, who are supposed to protect you when you pay taxes? That creates a desperate situation, okay? You can fight the Klan or the Mafia, but facing the police is a no-win situation. Many of those riots didn't begin because someone was denied a home, called the N-word, denied a bank loan, denied a job opportunity. That's not why the riots started. But they started specifically because of police actions. And please don't tell me, oh, they're destroying their own community. Most of the stuff there is not even owned by black people. That's what people do not understand. And then there's the domino effect of people coming together and creating organizations to protect themselves. Then like in the 1970s and the 1980s, the government coming in, dismantling all the political organizations or infiltrating them and transforming them into gangs. That's why from Chicago to Los Angeles, you got all these gangs. It's not a coincidence that the Crips and the Bloods were allowed to spread across this country, selling drugs and doing crime in all the black neighborhoods, creating a cycle of destruction with lasting effects. In Southern California, Hispanic gangs was used to force black people from their properties, and the government didn't do anything. But now we have politicians wanting to use gangs destroying low-income areas as part of their political agenda.
They come from the dungeons, think of that, the dungeons of the third world, from prisons and jails, insane asylums, and mental institutions. And she has had them resettled beautifully into your community to prey upon innocent American citizens. That's what they're doing. And no place is it more evident than right here.
So hearing about the Venezuelan gangs causing all kinds of violence and chaos in Denver's low-income communities, that's nothing new. Same story, just a different date. It's par for the course in America. Can you imagine if immigrant gangs were messing with well-off white neighborhoods? You can bet the government would be all over it. They would bring in the Army, the National Guard, without even thinking twice. But when it's low-income people, black people, you hear nothing but crickets. This isn't just them ignoring it. It's part of the strategy to keep control and stop any real unity from happening. Because trust me, if your government did not want them here, they would not be here. Period. Do not fall for the madness. Okay, that's it for this video. Until next time, take care.